Alrighty then. Where are we, Gav?
I
Episode.
literally, I literally have forgotten what episode number we are
I think it's
today.
8. I think I'm right
Eight?
today.
Yeah.
Yes. I think I'm right today.
So 8 days in a row. That's already quite a thing.
It is true.
Kind
You've
of.
done it. Yes.
So if you're a founder thinking of doing more publicity, then maybe just give it a try. Get on a call with someone that you work with, record those early conversations and publish them if that's in any way suitable for your audience, and just start that way. It's makes a break in the day, but it's also productive because Dom and I we get to think about some important and serious and valuable topics together. And then we're able to share some of that with the audience as well. So today, Dom, I understand you want to think about hero's journey. It's kind of like where we left off yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. And just a quick finish to your thought, I was thinking earlier about the startup I had and how much easier it would have been if I had built some sort of personal audience, right? Personal brand of people that were interested in, whatever content I was producing or whatever social media, conversations I was having with them, because it's so much easier to do different things like, network and, find that team member you might need or that mentor or that investor or whatever. And, already have people to bounce ideas off of and get market feedback. So I second Gav's out recommendation there. Just do it. It doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to become the next, Mr. Beast in order for it to be valuable. A couple thousand people is still a pretty big audience, and it can help you quite a bit. So, in that, maybe part of your hero's journey, right, is challenging yourself to get out there. What we were talking about was this idea that it very much seems to company growth, especially startup companies' growth, tends to mimic the growth of the founders as individuals. And most certainly, if not mimic their growth, it certainly is limited by lack thereof. You will be challenged invariably. Business is too complex. It's too far reaching, right? The disciplines, marketing, sales, product, leadership, culture. There's too many areas. I mean, it spans the human experience for the most part. It's an organism, right? We even talk about in the US, right? A corporation is actually an entity. It's a thing, right? It can be, it can go to court and so on and so forth. So if if you're not ready to embrace that individual journey, that personal journey, you're going to probably have a really hard time succeeding and getting your company over the hump. And if you look back with any level of objectivity, you're probably going to be able to fairly easily see those moments where you didn't do that, you didn't budge, you didn't listen, you didn't open your mind, you didn't whatever it was. And, it varies, right? Depends on the person. You couldn't get over that trauma that was limiting your thinking, that limited belief. And that right there is where the business just hit a wall. And had you just been able to make that jump, not only would you have grown as a person, but then the company would have grown along with it. What's your experience with that, Gav?
Well, I would just want to relate a little bit the outline of the hero's journey and get into
Sure,
maybe points
sure.
from that angle. So, Hollywood, what I've heard is that Hollywood has about 10 different scripts. Maybe you have some insight in this, but this is what I learned. And there's about 10 different scripts that every story kind of fits into. So if you got the most creative, interesting kind of storyline and you submit that as your script, if it doesn't fit in with what Hollywood wants to produce because they know that it's going to do well at the box office, if it fits this particular pattern, then the movie doesn't get produced. It becomes a novel that you might see at your bookstore at the in the quiet section. Um, so what is that pattern? What is it about this kind of general plot line that people are so attracted to? Well, it's this hero's journey is the concept. The Is it The Hero with a Thousand Faces was a book that really described this really well. And it basically goes through, like normal life, then something comes up, it's an opportunity or it's a challenge or And then the guy goes on an adventure and he tackles challenges and he wins the day and he beats the big boss. And then he returns home with rewards, having been through a transformation, right? And I think that's what you're alluding to there, is that transformation. And you got to kind of see your progress as that journey. And you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
You don't know where you're going to be most limited necessarily or
Mm-mm.
challenged. You certainly don't have all the answers. And if you think you do, then you're going to find out that you don't
Yeah.
at some point. And maybe that's your hero's journey. Maybe it's to say, hey, I know what I'm going to do exactly what I know the path. And inevitably you will discover that there are challenges that you have to learn, whether it be getting on well with growing a team or scaling once you get to that level, or figuring out who your customer is and not being so arrogant about your technology and you think it's going to do well. We've discussed some of these topics in the past few days. Um, but it's that transformation in Hollywood movies and in this concept of the hero's journey that the hero has to become. The hero, if it's Mission Impossible, you start off. Tom Cruise is already the hero of the previous movie, but he's still got to become the hero again.
Yeah.
He's got to become the hero again and take on a different challenge. So we're always learning, always growing, and we're going through that transformation to become something different to what we are right now. And that's that learning curve of transformation for the hero's journey.
Yeah. No, yeah, and the example of Tom Cruise, what they say, if you do it once, it's luck. If you do it twice, it's skill. So, you gotta have a sequel. But no, I mean, and even as I think about, as I'm saying that, right, that there's a lot of that to say in business. You can come up with a cool idea, get the right market conditions, and pull something off and really think that you've got it down, where in fact you've quite possibly done it in the easiest of circumstances. Then when you go to try to do it again in a different, or different organization, a different project, you fall on your ass because you didn't learn anything. You just kind of got lucky. You were born on third base the first time, right?
Yeah,
um,
or I just interject, or you get arrogant because you think you've done it once, and so you're going to repeat the same pattern again, and it never works out. I've seen entrepreneurs fail. They're like a lost puppy in their second startup, unfortunately, because somehow they achieved a first project startup exit, and then they think that it should repeat the same way, and it
yeah,
just doesn't.
right, that's almost the worst, right? Would be to have we'll say a mediocre first project exit, right? So it's not enough to get you rich for life, so that, hey, if you want to go and start 20 failed companies in a row for the rest of your days, it doesn't matter, right? You got the funding to do it. You're fine. You do what you do. But to have that sort of mid grade, like, yep, I got the exit, it was a takeover and I still have, 5% of the thing, and it's muddling along, and, the new company's trying to take it to new heights. And you think that because of that, you have the formula, right? You have the secret sauce. I always say, like, there are no magic beans, right? That's my thing. Everybody wants magic beans, especially in this sort of internet era of tips and tools and hacks. And right, they just think it's, if I just got that one more productivity hack, I'd be there. And it's like, no, it's a set of skills, right, that you develop. It's a certain amount of talent, and knowing in which areas you actually have it and which ones you don't. I'm probably more important to know where you don't have it than to know where you do. And then it's marrying those things with experience, saying, "Yep, been here before, tried this before, it worked. Maybe that's a first option we want to go with. It might not work now, but that's okay. That's a good first option. If it doesn't, we'll pivot and we'll do something else." But it's a set of skills that you acquire that will slowly but surely increase your chances of succeeding or helping someone else succeed. And there's luck. You have to acknowledge that. People have run great businesses, had great ideas, and just had really bad market conditions, right? And they couldn't hold on long enough. There was no funding available, and it just doesn't work, right? It does happen. You can do a great job and fail. So as much as you can do a shitty job and win and fool yourself, don't fool yourself by doing a great job and thinking you don't have what it takes. You
Mhm.
know, you may have very well done things perfectly in many. I mean, nobody does it perfectly, but so, you know, it's just about there's fundamentals here, right? There's first principles to business that I think people don't understand or don't look for. And if there's any magic beans, it's there, right? And a big part of that, you know, the hero's journey concept and growth isn't a first principle, but I'll call it a fundamental. It's knowing that you're on that journey. That's it. Just knowing that that's what you're on, so you
Mhm.
have the awareness to look out, right? Because otherwise you're just blind and you know you're flailing and you just like you need to know what you're doing. I don't know. I don't know if I'm describing this right, but
Yeah, no, so I think the key word that's coming up for me is grit. You've actually got to have
sure,
the staying power. Like you said, you might do well in one way and it was easy and it's kind of lucky or whatever, and then this different situation doesn't work out the same way, or you might be doing everything really well, but some factor somewhere is gonna take you down. I guess ultimately that's what they show in the hero's journey is not just you don't just face the one boss near the end, the
hmm,
big bad boss. You go through a series of trials, right? Part of the hero's journey is that you meet mentors along the way. You
yeah,
learn from them. You're adapting. It's not just a single point of transformation. It's like the peak transformation of success towards the end. But that's only a result of all of the learning curve. So it's the grit, it's the staying power. Maybe that's one of the magic beans that we can call a like a permanent principle. You've just got to develop the tenacity and the grit. One of them.
I would say the second one is kind of making everybody a mentor, having a I can learn from everybody mentality. Because if it's easy to get caught up, especially if you're in a leadership position, right? Your co-founder, your CTO, CMO, CEO, whatever, some kind of C position, right? And you've got, you know, a couple years under your belt and experience, you can start believing that, you know, someone who comes in to do some executive assistant work doesn't have anything to teach you. We have no idea what their background is and what else they may have been through. They may have survived cancer for all you fucking know, right? And have all kinds of amazing, you know, just ideas and wisdom inside of them that could be fully applicable. And because a big part of the, you know, what are they? Another thing you hear about in sort of like the spiritual path concept, which is the same thing. They say this in Buddhism all the time, which is, you know, basically the people that you hate are going to be your best teachers. You know, you're going to learn the most from the people you come into conflict with a lot, right?
Mhm.
Those are the people who can teach you the most because when you're in a state of aggravation, irritation, that's when your shit bubbles to the surface, right? That's when you can see your weaknesses. Because if someone's just fully out there and has no idea what they're talking about, they're not going to get you upset. If anything, you almost feel pity, right? If they're coming after you, say, and telling you you don't know what you're doing, if you're confident that that they're just coming from left field or just trying to get a rise out of you and they can't, that's probably an indicator that there's not much to it. But if someone's getting a rise out of you, then there's at least some part. It doesn't mean you're wrong necessarily or they're right, because it isn't really about being right and wrong as much as it is about being aware, right? It's awareness. You know, how can I raise my awareness? Because there's some weaknesses you may not be able to do anything about, you know, just be a matter of just knowing them, right? And doing your best to kind of protect yourself, so to speak, or find people who, you know, can shore up that element. You know,
What comes up for me there, the key word is patience. So I'm going to throw that extra magic bean into the mix here as well. You've got to have, and I think of it maybe topic for another time, but I think the idea of strategic patience um, from a team building culture product perspective. But yeah, we'll save that topic to expand it out in a future episode.
well, I like it. I'm writing down the magic beans. Now I'm starting to contradict myself. Maybe there are magic beans.
So what have we got? We had
Grit,
grit.
patience. And I think mine, if there was anything, it was, you know, that let everybody be your teacher, right? I don't quite know what do we break that down to, but you know,
Teachable, being teachable.
teachable. Yeah.
There's maybe this we don't have to include it in the mix, but I liked the book that the CEO, I can't think of his name, CEO of Intel said, Andy Warhol or something. He said, "Be paranoid."
Hmm.
He said, and it was like a flip against being arrogant. Right? It's like, know that you don't know a whole massive ton of important stuff.
Hmm.
Right? Really don't make those assumptions because the assumptions will create risk that kill you. So be paranoid that you're gonna really explore and understand as much as possible over time, and it takes time. So let's not that add that on the list of beans, but I liked that the CEO of Intel said be paranoid.
Well, what I found interesting earlier as you were talking was this idea of the Hollywood plot. I pulled something up and it's, there's these seven, they're saying the seven basic
Hmm.
plots, and it's
Hmm.
it's overcoming the monster, right? The hero's journey is effectively with that is rags to riches, the quest, which is basically another version of the hero's journey, or probably that's closer to the hero's journey than overcoming the monster. Voyage and return. I mean, they're all hero's journeys.
They are.
Comedy,
Yeah.
well, comedy's comedy, I don't quite know what that means. Tragedy, okay. Major character flaw or great mistake, which is ultimately their undoing. Rebirth, that's it. Rebirth, tragedy, comedy, void. All right. A couple of those were just the hero's journey rehashed.
Yeah, it's like you either, so the end of the story is you either come back a victor with riches and you're fine, or you come back and you've like taken a beating and you're gonna have to be somber and mull things over for a while and recover yourself or something. That's the way to end the story, but you're still the hero because you've made the transformation necessary to go through the challenge. Or you're gonna die. Well, it's like a martyr kind of a hero journey at the end of it. The hacksaw murderer caught up with you in the end, and you got it, and that's a nice, interesting twist at the end of the movie. But it's still a hero's journey. You might have failed, but you're a hero for struggling on through as much as you did, kind of thing.
Right. Well, man in the arena, right? You win by being out there. I 100% believe that.
Mm.
You win by being out there. It's so easy from the sidelines to point out people's flaws and point out people's weaknesses and mistakes. Easy, easy, easy. Get on the field, face full of blood and sweat, right? Like, that Roosevelt quote to me is probably my favorite of all time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's called The Man in the Arena. It's actually from a speech that Roosevelt gave, but it's probably one of the best quotes when you're really feeling it, like, you're on that grind, and you're getting beat to hell, and you're starting to really doubt yourself if hell you're good for anything. I've been there, just where you feel like, what are you doing? Just imposter syndrome times 1,000. You're in the arena, and that's a lot. Don't don't take that lightly. Don't cut yourself too short. It takes a lot of courage to get off your ass and try, right?
So maybe rounding this up for now, we turn it on its head and actually challenge the entrepreneur who's listening to consider your customer's hero's journey.
Mm,
The customer, you want to engage and connect with your customer. You want to influence them. You want them to buy from you. You want the brand loyalty, all of the stuff. Um, we have to understand what they are going through.
yeah.
We have to understand their buying process from the level of the jobs that they're trying to achieve or the,
Mm,
the opportunities they're trying to create, et cetera, et cetera. Spend a lot of time um, reflecting on on the customer journey of the hero's journey of your customer.
yeah. No, I like that. I like that. I bet there's a lot in there. You talk about, because we talk a lot about solve a problem, right? Find a problem and solve a problem for your customer, and you're probably going to be in pretty good shape as long as you can do it at a reasonable price and in a reasonable delivery time. You've got yourself a product, but that's not as easy to think about in isolation, or that might not be enough to get there. Maybe the way you get there is by seeing the bigger picture, right? It's not just the problem. It's like, how do they get to the problem? How did the problem develop? Right? What does the problem mean for them? What will it mean for them to overcome this problem? because there's a big difference between solving, I don't know, giving a headphone rack for my headphones to my left here. It's very convenient. I like it. And I'm glad I found this little thing to hang them on. But that's a $2 product for a reason. It's not changing my life. Right. But what does it mean to uh, uh, create a laptop for people? Why do laptops do so well? They're basically shittier desktop computers, right? But they allow freedom of movement. They allow you to work in any space, right? They allow you to take your computer with you. So they enable a ton of possibilities for that person, right? Because really, yeah, what is a laptop? It's an inferior version of a pre-existing product, right? A desktop computer is almost always more powerful and cheaper. But that's not the point. It's not what a laptop's here to do. A laptop so you can take your work with you, take your life with you, so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's interesting. All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up on that. I'm excited about it. And we'll keep saying it. I don't know, I don't know if we're a tree falling in the woods right now and there's no one around to hear us. That's the case, you're all enlightened. But if you are out there, tell us. We want to know. Give us some comments. It would be great to hear from everybody. Thank you.